Hello folks, Bill Vales here. For today's show, we are going to talk about call blocking systems. My guest today is Mark Crory. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Bill, nice to... Wait, is this a live call-in?
Excuse me a second.
Okay, sure.
Hello? Hello? I won a free trip to Bermuda? That's great. Oh, you want my credit card number for identification? I don't think so.
Smart move.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Mark,
Yes.
Welcome to Tech Talk.
Thank you.
Excuse me once more.
Go ahead.
Hello? Hello? No, I am not interested in having solar panels placed on my house. I told you that the last 5 times you called. Goodbye.
Oh, man.
Mark,
Yes.
have you ever received any unsolicited...
Sure, I'll wait.
Okay. Hello? The election? You want to know what I think of the presidential election? Goodbye.
Man. Let's start again.
Okay.
All right.
Mark,
Yes.
have you ever experienced those annoying, unsolicited phone calls?
Yes, I have, as a matter of fact.
It's really quite a problem. Unsolicited phone calls are made all the time to sell products or services, deliver political messages, steal personal information, or recon a potential robbery or scam to find out things about your patterns, things about your neighbors, things like that.
Should think about that one.
This happens numerous times a day throughout the entire day to some people. I know some people that this has happened to 15, 20 times a day regularly.
Wow.
These calls can occur on landlines similar to this that we just experienced, or also cell phones. The disruptions actually impact the quality of life. Have you ever sat down for dinner just ready to...
That's when the majority of the calls come. It's
Yep.
right at dinner time.
Yep, it's incredible.
Yeah. Before we go on,
Yeah.
I just want to say that this suit that you're rocking here today, that's
Yeah.
very John Travolta-ish.
Yeah.
1970s, bringing the disco back. I like to see that.
Yeah, and you have that Seattle grunge look on, which
I do.
really makes quite a comparison.
It's to appeal to all viewers, you know?
Yeah.
We've got the demographics for all age sets, really.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
Well-
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, oh, that's okay. That's okay. Well, you know, there's basically 3 types of calls that we're concerned with here. We have telemarketing calls, which are, you know, you may get an individual, a actual live person that's trying to sell their wares or make you aware of a product or service. Or then you have a robocall. And a robocall, that's short for robot,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
okay? And that's a phone call that uses a computerized auto dialer to deliver a pre-recorded message, as if it's from a robot.
Right.
Now, robocalls can be used for product or service advertising, political advertising, public service messages, and surveys, okay? And then you have scam calls, and this is something we really have to be concerned with. And scam calls can appear as a telemarketing or robocall, and the intent is to get your personal information. Okay, scenarios can be set up as well-wishing scams, similar to winning a trip to Bermuda, or as scareware scams, meaning someone calling you to say your taxes haven't been paid, and this is the IRS, and if you don't pay right this second, we're going to be at your door.
Now, I got an interesting call the other day. It was someone, they identified themselves as being from the police association or something like that, and they said, can we count on you again for a donation? The same, should I put you down for the same as last year? Well, we didn't give last year, so that was a telltale thing about that. And I said, well, what did I give last year? And they said, the $50. And obviously I knew it didn't do that. And I said, really? Because I don't remember, kind of flushed it out a little bit more. But that's a technique I think that they'll use. They'll say, and, can we put you down for the same as last year? And you feel, did I give last year? I must have. And yeah, sure.
Or maybe my spouse gave last year.
Right, and I didn't know about that. Yep. So that's a technique. Now, they could have been a legitimate fundraising organization, and it could have been going to the Policemen's Association, but I just said, I prefer to give my donations in person.
Yeah, I think you're always better off doing that, because even if it's a legitimate organization, you may find out that legitimate organization, only 15% of the proceeds they collect actually goes to the designated service or charity,
right,
and the rest go to them.
Yeah.
So I always advise as, don't take the bait. If you want to give to the police station, go to the police station.
Sure.
Something like that.
Absolutely.
So, now, telemarketing fraud last year, 2015, $350 million.
Wow.
So it's a problem.
Wow, that is a big problem.
It's a problem. So we shouldn't think it can't happen to me, because it happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Now, the solution for part of this problem, and none of these solutions are perfect, right? They all need to be tuned a little bit, are call blocking systems.
Sure.
And what a call blocking system is, it's either a device that will perform call blocking, similar to this device here.
Yeah.
This is a Century 2 device, which we're going to talk about a little more. And it's a device that I put between the telephone connection at the house and the phone.
Do you pick that up at the hardware store, or, a Walmart, or any of those type of?
I bought this on Amazon.com, about $50. It lists for $59, but you can shop around, and I got this for about $50. And it was delivered in a couple days. And then a second type is a service, and web-based services that require you to purchase no device.
Now, do you have to have a digital phone system to?
You do.
Okay.
For the web-based services, you do need a digital phone or voice over IP.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so you would need that. Now, some of the features we look for in these systems, really either system, is how easy are they to set up. Okay, that's a big thing. And how easy is it to disable and enable the service? There's sometimes that you want the service to be operating, and then there's sometimes you don't want it to be operating.
Right.
Okay, perhaps when you're testing the service, or if you're expecting the most important phone call of your life, you don't want any technology in the way of that, so you want to turn that off.
Or maybe you're in charge of a fundraiser at an event or something, and you've been made the point person. You know that you're going to get a lot of calls from local folks, and you want to be accessible, so you want to be able to shut it off easily.
That's true. Similar to you not wanting to answer my calls, but that's another another issue.
That's something else.
Now, you also want a system that's easy to review calls, meaning when calls come in, if the system blocks them, you would still like to see which calls came in, what numbers they came from, what time they come from. So you want all these things to be easy. Now, there's two features in each phone, in each service that you would like. One is called a white list. And a white list is the list of phone numbers that you want to let through. That
has nothing to do with being in the white pages.
Nothing to
ways
do
see.
with being in the white pages.
Okay.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. These are merely numbers that you want to allow in. And then you have a blacklist, okay? And what a blacklist is are numbers that you want to block. And in both these cases, you would like these lists to be built up manually, meaning you could enter the numbers, but also automatically. Ideally, when bad numbers come in, you'd like that number to be detected as bad and have it be added to the blacklist, so should that number come in again,
Yeah.
it's automatically thrown away.
Yeah, that's good.
So those are features that we're looking for. I've tested two systems here. One is the Century 2 system, which is the device.
That's this unit here
That's
we have.
this here.
Yeah.
And the other is No Mo Robo, which stands for No More Robo Calls.
Gotcha. No robo. I like that.
Right, right. But the Century 2 system, and it's a very simple system to use. Now I'm going to specify here, this needs to be Century 2. Version 1 of this system had some problems.
Okay.
Okay, so Century 2 is really the designation. And this system is very easy to hook up. You plug this into the wall. Okay, this gets plugged into the wall, and then you plug this into your phone.
Okay.
Okay.
That's couldn't be easier than that.
Very easy, and you can see it has very big buttons.
Yeah. Why don't you show our viewers
Okay.
that? Yeah. Big buttons.
Very big buttons. Operates by, gets power from, I think, 2 AA batteries. And you can see this has been unplugged, but you can see here there's still information on the screen.
Now, you may not have gotten this far into your testing, but is there any other kind of memory in this unit that is not, perhaps it lasts for 5 years or 6 years, besides the AA's? Because I'm wondering, when you take the AA's out, does it erase all your presets and your numbers that you've put on the white list and black list?
That's a good question. I haven't taken out the batteries yet, and that's a bit of testing that I need to do. My hunch is the memory is going to be persistent, meaning that what's in the memory will be retained in the memory, but
Yeah,
that merits further testing.
It would, because that would be awful if you had to start over from scratch every time you had to replace the batteries, which I assume, since this is running all the time, you know, the batteries are probably going to go on you in a month.
I suspect they're going to go, they'll be longer than that, but your point's taken.
Yeah.
Your point's taken.
So there's no other way to power it except from batteries. There's no AC adapter.
That's correct. There is no AC adapter.
We
And
might
you know,
want
maybe,
to tell the company that that might be a feature that, you know.
okay, we could maybe test that here.
Yeah.
Okay. But we can see here on these, if I wanted to see who called, you can see here I received a call from this number yesterday. There's the date.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And the time.
and date and time. And I have set here block no caller ID. So if someone calls and they don't have caller ID enabled, that's automatically blocked.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, does this machine, let's say it's me, say you know my number,
Yes.
but yet I don't have caller ID, is it somehow going to sense that, or just you and I can never talk on the phone?
So your number I have entered in here.
Correct, but I was just giving a what if. What if I had a feature that for some reason I didn't have a caller ID, I had that feature that you can
You're blocked.
unblocked,
You're blocked.
no matter what.
You're blocked if you don't have caller ID.
Okay.
Now, I can turn that off,
But then again, you're letting the floodgates open
but then I'm
possibly.
letting people without caller ID come in. And actually, my initial testing of this had caller ID turned off. Okay, I only stumbled on this feature the other day and said, oh, let me turn that on. So let's see how it off. I'm not sure. how I turn that off.
So I noticed that there's a green button,
Yes.
like a green lettered, says accept,
Accept,
and a red letter that says reject, big buttons.
Correct.
And then below it says white list, black list. So if a call comes in and you notice that it's on there, you can immediately hit the reject or hit the accept, and it will store those into the right lists.
that's correct, because if this call, for instance, this call came in, if the person followed the prompts, that would be added into the whitelist. Now, let's say I want to reject that. Actually, I just hold that down, and that call,
Is added to the reject list.
that's going to be blocked. Okay, that will
Okay.
be blocked. Okay. Now, this system is very simple to connect, and it'll automatically build the white list and the black list. However, I found there's some people that call me fairly regularly that if they were to confront the message that's on this phone, I think they'd be confused.
Sure.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Right, right. And that's something we should probably mention first, that when the caller makes a call to this system, they're confronted with a fairly terse message.
Right.
Okay, asking you if you are a telemarketer, you need to hang up now, and if you want to be passed through, to press 0 and call again.
Right. Right.
And I think that message is a little confusing.
Yes, and the reason was because I pressed 0 and just hung on the line, and it passed me through.
Yes.
So I guess what it's trying to eliminate is definitely robocalls, because a robocall won't sense that
Right.
press 0 and hang on the line. But a person, if they do what the guy said to do, which he was very stern, like you said, about
Very
doing
stern.
it, then I would have hung up, pressed 0 and hung up. And then who knows? I don't know if that number now gets passed into you, and then you can look at it, and then you can accept me, or maybe it just, I'm not sure. It seems like a glitch.
Yeah, I agree. And in looking at reviews on the web, other people have indicated that it doesn't seem quite right, that message should change slightly, that anyone calling you that wants to get through shouldn't have to call again.
Right.
They should be able to get through, as you did, but the message did not indicate that.
No.
So that was a little confusing.
Now, that could just be this particular brand. I'm not sure if all of them have that same.
I suspect all Century 2s are like that until the manufacturer realizes that this.
So we'll have
Frankly,
a Century 3 coming out.
I felt that that's a bug. And when I heard that message, I said, does anyone test this stuff anymore? That seems so fundamental to me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now with that said.
Let me just see where this is, if I can tell where it's made.
No. Do you really need to look?
Okay, all right, never mind.
Now, we're gonna test something here. This is live TV. Well, it's
great.
live right now.
Yes.
But we're gonna take the batteries out. Now, if I have to enter all these, here we go. We're gonna take the batteries out. Oh, they're two AAA batteries.
AAAs, yeah.
AAAs. Okay, here we go. There they are.
It says here, by the way, it says replace battery every 6 months.
Okay.
No, it says battery every 6 months. There are 2 batteries, but
Oh, there are.
misspelling there, I guess.
Do people test
I was
these
going to say,
things?
do you just replace the one battery every 6 months and the other 6 months?
You know how this stuff gets to me in technology.
I know.
It really does.
All right, here's the big
Okay.
test, and I
Okay,
apologize in advance
Well, I'm going to have you put in all the numbers. Now, I have to say that,
That's great.
Look at that.
So there is some sort of either memory chip or a backup, like a lithium battery or something that doesn't need to be replaced for 10
it
years.
seems to be persistent memory.
Yeah, good.
We're seeing all the numbers that are in here. I recognize Mark's number. No, that wasn't your number. But yes, so you can change the batteries.
That's good.
Without, so good. That was a live test.
Now, some people may be thinking that this is a lot of trouble to go through. Why not just let the calls come in and you know what? I'll just hang up on them. Or, the problem is, if you're like me, it's hard to hang up on somebody because I don't like being rude. And I know that I may never know these people or see them again, but just my nature is I don't like to be rude to people. I realize that if they're legitimate, they're doing a job, they're trying to put food on the table for their family, and they're just
Don't take it to extreme.
I'm just saying they're just trying to make a living.
Yep.
So, I don't like to be rude. Mm-hmm. I'll give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. It's hard to get them off the phone, to wait for that moment to say, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested, My brother-in-law had this neat thing, and this might be another option for people. Mm-hmm. You only gave 2, but here's a third one. It's a little box, and it has maybe 4 or 5 buttons on it. And the buttons are sound effects. So you hold up to the phone. And one of them's a crying baby. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get off the phone, you press the button, wah, wah, I'm sorry, I got to go, the baby's crying. Or there's a doorbell, ding dong, I'm sorry, I got to go, someone's at the door. There's sirens on there. I don't know what's happening, but something's going on, I got to go. So that's another option.
Oh, well, and
you
that's
can
not
have a little,
rude, that's just being disingenuous.
You can have a little fun with it,
Yeah.
Life is too short.
Yeah, it sure is.
It is. So anyway, my point
What was
being
I
that,
talking about?
Well, the point was that some say, why go through all this trouble to with the white list and the black list and and I guess what you're trying to tell people is that most of the time, I mean, if you're just annoyed because it seems like you mentioned as we demonstrated at the beginning of the show, mm-hmm. these calls come in all day long.
All day long.
And I don't know how they get your number, but somehow if you sign up for something on the internet that requires a phone number, that gets spread out to all these companies, and people buy those.
Numbers of phone numbers are sold as lists on the internet,
That's
along
right.
with credit card numbers and everything.
Right.
And don't feel so bad for these people calling, because as we said at the beginning, $350 million.
Yeah, I know.
Of scams were perpetrated in 2015. Many of these callers work for criminal enterprises.
Right.
So
I
wouldn't
just don't
feel
like to
bad
throw
about
the
it.
baby out with the bathwater. There may be some legitimate fundraising people out there. There may be people that really want to sell you a great product. But that being said, there are many methods for you to do your own search. One, go to the store where you want to buy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You mentioned Amazon earlier. That's a pretty reputable site for being, and until so far, I don't think they've been hacked. Let's hope not.
Everyone's been hacked.
Well, yeah, I guess.
At some point.
Yeah.
Now, another defense that you have, too, is to look at your caller ID when it comes in to see who it is calling. Now, when a robocall occurs or a telemarketer occurs, as soon as you pick up that phone, you're giving them a valuable piece of information. You're letting them know that there's a human being there.
That this number is legit in some form.
So you can count on getting more and more calls.
That's a good point. I did not think about that.
So
excellent.
So my impressions with the Century 2 system, and I like, in general, I like the Century 2 system, and I have it running at the house. In fact, when I disconnected it today to come down here, I got a call selling me solar panels.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
But what I did find on Century 2, I found the recorded message was confusing.
Yeah.
I think they need some work there. So the recorded message is confusing, and also the instructions associated with the message don't quite work the way that they say they work. So that's my biggest criticism. It's easy to preload the whitelist. Okay, in my case, I loaded my white list of I only have about 10 people that I care to hear from. Well, 11 after I realized I left you off the list. Okay?
Thanks. Did you have to do it all from this unit, or is there
did.
a way to use the phone pad that talks to
I
this?
did it from this unit,
Okay.
and it was very simple.
All right.
It was very simple. It's
And when you get down to brass tacks, I mean, you're probably only going to program 15 to 20 numbers in there, because those are the people that you really
That's right.
know and trust and want to hear from,
That's
frankly.
And that list is getting shorter every day.
Right.
Okay.
I'm glad that I made the list this
Yeah.
year.
Well,
This
on
year.
the second pass.
Yeah.
So it's with the Century 2, it's easy to review the block numbers. It's easy to add and remove numbers from the whitelist or blacklist. That, for instance, if you've added someone to the whitelist and after a while they've irritated you, you can move them to the blacklist or vice versa. It's easy to turn the system off, and it's easy to turn it back on. And I really like that. And for
Good.
$50, it's done a good job.
Worth the extra,
Yeah.
the time that you save and aggravation that you have avoided.
Yeah. Now, the second system that I tested is a internet-based system using digital phone, VoIP, voice over IP.
So let me just ask you one more question.
Yep.
Can this also work with a digital phone, or does it have to be a landline, the traditional?
That's a good question. This actually has to be a landline, but in my case, I'm using a digital phone. I have Verizon Fios, so that's using digital phone.
Oh, so.
Okay, digital phone service.
Yeah.
This is not working with my cell phone, though. Okay. This is-
I wouldn't think that the cell phone would go through that because there's no wires, right?
right. Or is there any, Bluetooth interface,
I see.
any versions that they've
Yeah.
made like that? Now, No Robo,
No more robo.
say that 3 times fast.
No more robo, no more robo, no more robo.
Good. Okay, this is a free service, okay, that for voice over IP lines. And it'll work with Verizon Fios, Comcast, Vonage, Time Warner, and numerous other digital carriers.
Interesting. I'd like to wonder why it's free.
Well, the FTC ran a contest, Federal Trade Commission, ran a contest because they recognized the problem with robocall. And Robo won the contest.
So do they get a contract, or do they get a percentage of? I wonder how they stay in business. When somebody is.
Well, I suspect that if a company buys their services, there may be some cost for a company, but for regular people like you and I, the service is for free.
Wow.
Now, you can have No More Robo put on your cell phone, but that costs you $5 a month,
I see.
okay, for a mobile device.
Okay. That's probably not a bad investment. I mean, you think of how many times these robocalls eat up your minutes. If you're on a minute plan where
That's true.
You see the things like, what is that? And you click on it, and then you've just wasted a text or a minutes off your data plan.
And that adds up. Now,
Yeah.
No More Robo, it does not work with analog phone lines, meaning the old
Yeah.
dial, one ringy-dingy, two ringy-dingy.
Right, like the Sentry does. This is strictly digital.
Strictly digital.
web-based.
You pay for mobile devices. And this makes use of what's called the simultaneous ring feature. And on a digital phone line, you have this simultaneous ring. And the way simultaneous ring works is you can set it up. I did it on Verizon, which we're showing our audience, is that when someone calls my phone number at home, it rings in two places, okay? It'll ring at my number, but it will also ring at this second number that I've set up for simultaneous ring. Now, the simultaneous ring will always pick up first, okay? Meaning this is the number for No More Robo. And they'll pick that up and look at that phone number and determine if that's in their database of fraudulent robo numbers.
Oh, and that's based on a database of nationwide customers, not just you.
Nationwide, worldwide numbers that has been built up.
Wow.
And there's millions of records
Boy, that must be a big list.
in there. And it makes those matches instantaneously. Okay. And if the number is not in the list, it'll ring through to you and you won't.
And this is only for robocalls. This is not caller blocking the neighbor down the street that you just don't know.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And that's a good distinction. And that's where a system like this, when you want to block your neighbor down the road.
Right. Yeah, comes in handy.
If you want to.
Well, that's interesting. So there's no programming on this, unlike the other one where you accept or put something into the black list or the white list, or you can pre-program numbers in there. None of that with the digital service.
None of that with this, and that makes it.
That makes it kind of easy, actually.
It's very easy. Now you do have to sign up for the service at a website, and we're going to provide that web address to the audience, and then you have to go into the feature of your telephone provider. In my case, I went through Verizon, okay, and just turn on simultaneous ring and place in the No More Robo phone number, so they'll get the number. That setup took me less than 30 seconds. It was fairly straightforward.
So when they say simultaneous ring, to me, simultaneous means at the same time, correct?
Simultaneity.
So is your phone also ringing at this moment?
Yeah, it will ring. You'll hear a short ring, and then the ring won't even complete.
If it's a robo, it's going to sense it within maybe the first ring.
Yeah, well, it'll pick up. If you have a race to the phone, it'll always, the simultaneous ring, the computer will
beat you.
Will beat you.
Okay.
Okay. So this was very easy to set up. Very easy to set up.
How long did it take you?
Oh, just to set up the simultaneous ring, less than a minute.
Oh, wow.
Less than a minute. But a little bit of research I did looking at the website. I wanted to get a sense for, is this legitimate? What do other people think about it? Those sorts of things. And I want to add that in either case here, I'm really not recommending one or the other.
Sure.
Okay?
Options.
But these are my experiences.
So you said how easy the Sentry was, the
Yes.
landline, to turn on and off.
Yes.
What about this? Is this easy?
Go in the website, one click, it's off. I
Right.
tried it this morning, and
Which also, I assume, you could do from anywhere in the world.
you could,
That you
as
have.
long as you have internet access.
Right. Which is good, because the other thing, you have to be at the box,
That's right.
the unit, but this one you can do from anywhere.
That's right. So I found that very good. So I've left both the systems hooked up. I have my Century 2 plugged in, and I have the No More Robo enabled. And I believe the order is calls come in, they go to No More Robo first, and if they pass through there, then Century 2
Screens them.
screens them and picks them up. So
Wow, you have more security than the government, I think, for your house. Are you worried about something?
You know.
What's the verdict? What's the
Well,
verdict?
the verdict here, robocalls, scam calls, and soliciting calls, they're a problem.
Yeah, we know
Okay,
that.
we all get them. Scam calls, for some people, threaten their finances and their safety.
Right.
And those are really, really a problem. I found both of these systems easy to set up and easy to use. I was disappointed by the Century 2 message. Some callers reported the confusion, like yourself and others. However, they all seem to get through.
Right.
And they're only confronted with that confusion once, really.
You can always write a letter if you really wanted to get in touch with you.
You can.
Yeah. The Postal Service is still
Do you know
in
what a
business.
stamp goes for nowadays?
You know, I'm going to guess.
You see, you don't. So
No.
you probably
42 cents?
You'd probably be putting on a bunch of these 2-cent
Yeah,
things
I
that you
always
saved,
overstamp.
and then you'd be short, and
How
I
much is
wouldn't
it?
get the letter.
Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well,
Now, on the No More Robo, I can't review the call log. Okay, so I can't really judge the effectiveness of that system because they don't have that feature in there yet. They're supposedly working on it.
have you ever heard your phone ring once and then know, oh, robo?
A couple times I have.
All right.
Okay. Again, I've been running both systems. Our phone has
So let me just
effective-
go one more thing.
Yeah.
With the no robo, even though it's simultaneously
No Mo
robo,
Bo.
does that call still register on your Sentry since you have both things hooked up?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
That's why I'm here,
Okay.
to
See,
ask the
that's
good
why-
question. To ask the good questions.
Right. Yeah. He's just not another pretty face.
No, I know that's what
Yeah.
people
Now-
are thinking.
Our phone has basically stopped ringing with junk calls. You know, my investment was really minimal. Investment in time and $50 for the Century 2. I plan to continue to run both of these systems, monitor the performance. I'll continue to let the audience and you know,
Great.
you know, how these systems work. So,
Good. We'll look forward to the update.
okay. So in the meantime, I'd say to the audience, practice, 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 and I'll see you next month.